When we talk about herbicides for weed control in wheat, you may think, well, there have been all kinds of changes recently, but really, it's a fairly simple program, but you need to start before you even plant the crop.
Well, here's the whole thing though. I realize that your wheat herbicide program may have cost you $3 an acre last year. But let's face it, if you've got some weeds out there, especially grasses, like the foxtails or worse yet, downy brome or wild oats, you're losing yield. The wheat price has been fairly good. You've probably even marketed some of your 2011 wheat crop. Why not have better weed control, get a few extra bushels, and make more money on your farm?
Well, it makes a lot of sense to me, but really, it all comes back to yield. You need to have the most yield out of your farm. It's important for you, for your profitability. It's also important when you just think about your small town that you're in. Most farms are located around small towns, and we actually generate revenue. We generate income. We generate money by growing more crop. You think about it. Do you want to raise 50 bushel wheat or 60? What does that extra 10 bushels add to your community and add to your farm? It's really important. So let's start with the grass control. If you've got grass issues and you're in a situation where you're going to be planting wheat, you know there's some grass problems, you have to start with a pre-emerge product like Prepare. Now, we didn't used to have pre-emerge options for wheat, or at least very good ones. We do have that right now. Prepare has the same active ingredient as Everest, but we can use it pre-emerge and take out a lot of those weeds before they even become a problem. And in wheat, what a big deal is that? If you're planting wheat in the fall, for example, and you get all the grasses out of there, if you don't have grasses coming in the fall, that crop is going to be established, you're going to have a fantastic stand, and you're going to have less disease problems, you're going to have everything working in your favor as you go into the next year.
The nice thing with Prepare, we're only using a low rate 0.2 ounces per acre. I know a lot of people talk 0.3. We like an even lower rate, 0.2. It's a low rate, only cost you probably $5 an acre, maybe even less than that. You're not spending much money. You're going to get a lot of things under control, not only grasses, but broadleaves too. And then if you don't have weeds come back later on, you don't have to spend any more money. Chances are you're going to though, and you've probably already got 80%, maybe even 90% of the weeds under control, so it's much easier for your post-emerge herbicides to work.
Well, plus, I just think that crop is going to be so much better when you take all that stress away, and that's where you end up with lots of problems in your field, and you'll always lose yield. If you've got early weed pressure, you will lose yield. There's no question about it.
Yeah, take corn for example. Whenever we see grass getting up in corn, I mean, every corn farmer in the world knows when you see grass in corn, you've already lost yield. Bam, done, period. It's the same exact thing in wheat. Once that grass comes up, it takes nutrients, it takes water out of your soil, and that's lost for your wheat.
Okay, well, let's talk about another mistake that's very commonly made, and that's mixing grass and broadleaf herbicides together. You think about it, if you've got a grass crop and you want to do the best job killing grasses, don't mix something else with it.
Yeah, but I want to save time, Darren. I want to save time. I only want to make one trip over the field. See, this is the common response. And it's fine if you've only got 50 weeds out in the field. But the problem is if you've got major weed issues, you're dealing with one of the tougher weeds like wild oats, for example. Don't be mixing a broadleaf chemical with the grass chemical because they interact with each other and they antagonize each other.
Well, especially if you're in an area that has continuous wheat. Or maybe you're just on a 2-year rotation and you're right back to wheat again. You've got to do a great job in those situations controlling those weeds. So what we would recommend is spraying your grass control product first. That's very important. The grass killers don't have much of impact on the broadleaf weeds. So you aren't going to really ding up your broadleaf weeds. You can wait a week, come back in and spray the broadleaves later. It's no big deal.
Here's my biggest piece of advice for you though. Put tram lines in your wheat crop. You've got to be able to go out there with your sprayer later on without knocking over a bunch of that wheat. So if you put the tram lines in the wheat crop, you can go back and spray 2 or 3 or even 4 times if you needed to. You've got that option. Otherwise, you need to call the plane in as we get later in the season.
Well, when it comes to controlling weeds in wheat, really, we think about it as a 3-pass approach. We know for sure we're going to put a pre down, we know for sure we're going to spray a grass killer, and we know for sure we're going to spray a broadleaf killer.
And we might combine the grass and broadleaf killer if we don't have very many weeds out in the field. But either way you do it, you're going to have to face our Weed of the Week. We'll tell you how to stop it on your farm coming up next.